Welcome back to Sequestered Season 2. I'm Sarah Reed, and this is our first bonus episode where we're taking a moment to talk through the first two cases we've covered, Tonetta Carlisle from Chattanooga, Tennessee, and Brandy Hall from Malabar, Florida.
And I'm Andrea Clyde. Let's start with Tonetta's case. We intentionally chose to open this season with a Chattanooga case because, Sarah, Season 1 of Sequestered centered around your experience as a juror in a Chattanooga trial. We already had so many listeners from the area, it just made sense.
Exactly. We hoped that some of those thousands of local listeners might hear Tonetta's story and call in a tip.
All right, so let's recap and share some of the things that really stood out to us while researching this case.
Okay, so if you haven't listened to episode 1 of season 2 yet, definitely go back and listen to the full story. But here's a quick snippet. Tonetta was 15 years old, walking home from school in broad daylight. And when she was abducted, at least 2 witnesses saw it happen.
Then, just a few days later, the car involved was found. And inside was Jeffrey Jones, the car's owner, dead by suicide from carbon monoxide poisoning.
That detail is hard to ignore. His death strongly suggests guilt, but the witnesses didn't just see one man take Tonetta. There were multiple men who jumped out of the tan and yellow vehicle. So who were the others?
Right. It's hard to believe that no one has said anything, especially after all these years. You'd think someone would have talked. But honestly, we found so little on this case. There's barely any conversation about it online, not even on Reddit.
And another thing that really bothers me, the police didn't connect Tonetta's mother's missing person report with the abduction call for 2 days. I know it was the late 80s, but still, it wasn't a huge department. That feels like a major failure.
Yeah, that 2-day delay cost precious time. I can't help but wonder if because she was a teenager, they just dismissed her as a runaway.
Right. There was also this theory that she was trafficked to California, but investigators said there's no evidence for that.
And what about forensics? Is there anything sitting in an old evidence bag that could finally crack this case?
I mean, you'd think, from what I've read, they still have the vehicle in possession. But in 2019, Tonetta's mom and brother submitted new DNA samples. The DA said it could help, but we haven't seen any updates since. One thing I thought that was interesting about the vehicle is, according to forensics, it was empty. Couldn't there be a print, a fiber, or some sort of latent clue just sitting in there?
Especially if multiple people got out of that vehicle, there's got to be something.
Right, it was the 80s.
I keep coming back to this. Somebody knows something still.
Right. Chattanooga listeners, we need your help. If you knew Jeffrey Jones or the people he hung around with in the 80s, please speak up. Tonetta's family still hasn't given up, and neither should we.
All right, let's switch gears to Brandy Hall. This case is a wild one, and there's so much to unpack.
Seriously, Brandy Hall was a firefighter who disappeared one night. The next day, her truck was found submerged in a retention pond. Her firefighter gear was floating nearby, and her blood was inside the truck, but she was nowhere to be found.
Yeah, this case has a lot of possible motives. She was reportedly having an affair with Randall Richmond, which we talked about, and her husband, Jeff, was due in court the very next morning for the marijuana grow operation he was running.
Right, and Randall lied to police about whether he'd spoken to Brandy the night she disappeared.
Yeah, that's huge. Why lie about the last call you had unless you're hiding something?
Some have speculated that Jeff and Randall were both involved in the grow operation and that Brandy knew too much.
Yeah.
Maybe they were worried about what she'd say if she took the stand. That's not just bad timing, that's motive.
Exactly. We know Randall had Jeff's phone number, which is interesting because he even called him the morning that Brandy disappeared.
Right, and that call is so shady. Randall calls Jeff crying. He can't come into court, even though he said he was going to be there, and when Jeff asks where Brandy is, he just hangs up.
Yeah, that's not normal. If he didn't know something, why get emotional and then hang up the phone? Doesn't make sense.
Right. There's also this other theory that Brandy staged her own death. But she left no money, no clothes, and there was a significant amount of blood in the truck. That's not a clean getaway. That's a mess.
And everybody says she never would leave her kids, especially knowing that Jeff was going to be going to jail that next day.
Right. Okay, another strange detail. That second firefighter helmet that was found.
Yes, remember? We were just talking about this.
Actually, I have the article right here from firehouse.com. According to a police interview with Hall's husband, the helmet was kept in the couple's shop in West Melbourne, which was the last place it was seen. So I think that's so weird that it's not even a helmet that she currently used. It was just something that was kept in their shop. So not only why was that missing, but then why were her belongings scattered in different locations?
Yeah, it definitely feels like somebody's trying to throw off the police and planting evidence. It had to be someone that had access to that shop.
I totally agree.
It's like just enough to mislead investigators, but not enough to solve the case.
Right. And that pond, you're telling me there's no surveillance footage nearby? It was 2006.
Yeah, I wondered the same thing. There has to be some sort of digital trail.
Okay, some listener questions we've gotten. First, why did Randall lie about their last call? And second, what was their conversation about?
Yeah, I mean, we don't know the answers here, but I think he lied either, one, to hide the affair, or because that call revealed something that implicated him. Like, did she say something to the point of like, this needs to be over? I'm walking into being a single parent, and it set him off. I don't know.
Yeah. Another listener asked what Brandy was doing that night. Was she meeting Randall? We know she told coworkers she wasn't feeling well, and reports suggest that she and Randall had met at that pond before. But as I understand it, she also left quite a bit earlier than she normally would. I think her shift was supposed to stop at 7 a.m., and she left before 11 p.m.
Right. And if that was their usual meetup spot, it just makes the whole situation look way worse.
Right.
Because maybe they met up to talk about the court case. She said something like, I can't cover for you. Of course, that's assuming he were to be involved. I mean, we don't know. But it seems like that could be a good theory that he was triggered.
I don't know. There's something about that blood in the truck, too. Like, her body was never found, but if it was removed before sinking it, then that's deliberate, not a panic move.
Yeah, it feels like it was just done to create confusion, putting the gear scattered in all these different places.
Right. I keep wondering, were there fingerprints left behind in the truck? Did water destroy it all, or is there something they could still test?
Yeah. Another listener asked, who had the most to lose if Brandy told the truth? That's a great question.
Well, that depends on what she knew.
Right. I'm not even sure how much trouble Jeff would have gotten into from her testimony, because I think he was supposed to be a character witness for him.
Right.
But if Randall was more involved than we know, that could be a different story.
Yeah. Maybe Brandy told Randall their relationship was over.
Right.
Maybe he thought with Jeff in jail, they had a future. And when she said no, he snapped.
Yeah. These are all valid questions from our listeners, and we want you to keep asking them because Brandy Hall deserves answers, and her kids do too.
That's right. If you know anything about either of these cases, head to sequesteredpod.com for info on how to contact law enforcement. Thanks for joining us for this bonus deep dive.
I'm Andrea Clyde.
And I'm Sarah Reed. Thanks for listening.